Lockdown Reviews Yaesu FT2D Dual Band Handheld by Paul, Mike 0, Whiskey November Uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 metres and PMR 446.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Paul, Mike 0, Whiskey November Uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 metres or PMR 446. So, today I've got a more expensive radio for you. The most expensive radio I own, which is the Yaesu FT2D. The official model number for it in the UK and Europe is the FT2DE. It would be the FT2DR in the United States, I believe, and some other countries. I'm not 100% sure which other countries they would be where it would be that model number. So this one would be the 2DE, so the European version. So I'd cover all of the European amateur radio frequencies and some other frequencies for listening to as well. So got a large touch screen here, so if I can press that, it'll bring up a menu. If I push back, it'll come out of there. If I push it again, it'll just try and store something, which I don't want it to do. Auto mode, that's not doing anything at the moment because it is on auto mode. It's a radio that works on Yaesu System Fusion alongside the FT3D, the FTM100, which I think has ceased production off the top of my head, the FTM400, which I have in my car, and there's a new FTM300 coming out as well, I believe. There was an FT1 made at one point, but that's since been discontinued, and there's another one as well, which actually, so I've got Martin Lynch's website up, so I'm going to come on to that in a minute. It's the 70DE, which is the cheapest one in the System Fusion range. But we're focusing on this radio, which is the 2D, which at the moment costs $279.95. Pay an extra £100, you get the FT3D with a colour screen and Bluetooth. This has a monochrome touchscreen and it does not have the Bluetooth, but I don't really need the Bluetooth, so I might in the car though, so I'd fit the Bluetooth module into the FTM400 for that purpose if I need to. So you get in the box the radio, the antenna, the battery, quite a chunky instruction book and a little quick start guide. You also get a USB cable, but I think you do anyway. Yeah, I think I got a USB cable with this. Yeah, I think you get a USB cable there. I can't remember off the top of my head. Don't quote me on that. But if you do try and use a USB cable to program it, you can't actually program it because it's a straight through cable for reflashing it, I think. So what do we have on the radio? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the radio off first. You also get a belt clip, which screws into the battery, which is a bit inconvenient, but so the radio has this nice metal chassis, which I like in a radio. There's battery contacts there. The battery is a lithium-ion battery as supplied. It's 7.2 volts, 2,200 milliamp hours. I'm having to read that off the battery because I can't remember off the top of my head. And you don't get a drop-in charger, but you do get a mains plug-in charger which you plug into the side of the radio. Yaesu make the drop-in charger an optional extra. So the runtime on the battery is relatively decent. Depends on how heavy you're using it. The antenna's an SMA male on there. It says SMA female on the radio. There's a LED status light on the top. Then you've got two rotary encoders here. So one does the volume, one changes the channel or frequency depending on how you've got the radio set. On the side you've got the PTT, Monitor or tone call, that can be switched between the two. I think on the American one it defaults to monitor, on European one it defaults to tone call. That's the tone burst I think you use to access some really old repeaters, but that's not used anymore. That one allows you to change the squelch and power on and lock. So pretty self-explanatory. YSX button, group monitor button, switch between VFO A and B, VFO or memory mode. These three are generally self-explanatory. Switch between bands. There's a few bands you can switch between too, actually, because you can listen to a lot, but you can transmit on the amateur bands, so it's locked to those. Display just shows them as compass, I'll show you that shortly. And back, self-explanatory. And on the side, other side we've got, if I can get the lid off, slot for a micro SD card. I don't have one in this. I should get one. And on the other side of that, we have a data connection. That's for a data cable or the optional camera microphone. I'm not sure you still get that. I think you can. And then a headset connector just straight below that. And then the last one, which you might find you'll need, is the DC input, which you can either use to charge the battery or run this thing off an external 13.8 volt power supply. So the actual voltage it takes in through the battery is 7.2 volts, but it's rated up to 12. So it should be fine on a 13.8 volt supply, although it says 12, so just be careful because it's an expensive radio. So pushing and holding the power button just turns it on. I've got a password set on this, which you lot aren't seeing. And it'll come up with your call sign and APRS call sign if you've set it. Mine's set to, well, that's currently listening to a local gateway, although I can never hear that from here. That's the GB3IR repeater. Let's have it on there for now. Yep, so that's the local repeater. I'll just cut the tail end of a transmission off that there. Not sure if anyone was actually on there or not. So that bottom one's for the APRS. I don't receive APRS packets in the house generally, and there isn't a local iGate or digipeater that I can hit or hear even here in the house. So that's why I'm planning on setting one up myself. But I'll cover that in another video, although I have made a reference to it in my last video. So to change any of the settings, press and hold the display and you get into the setup menu. Okay, I'm not going to go through these because it's a bit long and drawn out. And let's see, so but one thing you can do is you can change what the S meter looks like. So you've got 4 choices there, so you can change that to your preference. I just leave it set to what it's already set to. And you can, okay, so you can even change the backlight settings and other things in there. Memories for programming the memories. That's for group monitor. YSX, self-explanatory for the YSX. SD card, that's not in use on this radio because I don't have one in it. Call sign, when you buy these brand new, you'll be asked to set a call sign, and in the UK obviously you get a new call sign as you pass each stage of the free-tier licensing system. So if we're intermediate and you passed, you're advanced, once you got your call sign, you'll be able to change it in the radio just by pushing the call sign button and then entering the call sign. We're not going to do that today because I don't need to do that. Some people put their name next to the call sign as well. So you can always do that if you so desire. APRS, that's all the APRS settings. So you can change. So you can set your call sign in here for APRS, and even tell when the APRS modem is on or off and what speed it runs at. It's 1200 BPS for normal APRS. You can change ringer settings beacon intervals, beacon transmit. This is how you would put the beacon on, so you can either have it set to manual or automatic. But we're not going to put that on for the moment because there's no point. Because I'm in the house and there's no eye gates to hit. So. Okay, just take it off there for the minute and go back to VFO mode. So we can have it in VFO or memory mode. So this is currently in VFO frequency, direct frequency mode. So 145425, which will be the test frequency we're going to be using. And I do think this is a good radio, but I'm not going to come to that conclusion until the end of the video. And this first bit's about 10 minutes long. That's a first. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to pit it against the Chinese alternatives in FM mode. I can't do a test on System Fusion mode because in order for me to actually be able to do that requires I have the ignition turned on in my car, and I'm not leaving my car unattended with the ignition keys in it. That would be the worst idea, leaving the key in the car and the car switched on. So it'll be an FM only test on this. So what I'm going to have to do for a test for System Fusion is I'm going to have to put this back to where it was. There we are. I'm going to have to go back into the memory mode, put it onto my hotspot. Which takes some time to actually access it. I had a parrot room, which I believe is Bob's. Okay, radio is receiving. Yep. Well, let me connect to that. There we go. Okay. So I put it back to just get rid of that. So I've connected to an echo test room on my hotspot. Let's see. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform test. There we go. That's the best I'm going to be able to do because obviously we're in a bit of a situation in which I haven't got another System Fusion receiver to hand. Oh, that was just woke itself up. Maybe because I've just caused interference to the trackpad, because it's one of the problems I have with trackpads. So every time I transmit it's in 70 stems or BMR 446, I seem to muck up the trackpads on laptops. Don't know why it does that. But we're done there now, so if I put it back into VFO mode, ready for our test on 2 meters, and I will get everything ready for that, and I shall catch you outside. It's not as sunny today as it has been over the last few days, but it's probably still warm. So I'm going to gather all the radios I'm going to use in this test, and obviously the tablet and a little receiver here. So I'm still using this as the receiver, and we'll see how this fares against the Chinese competition. So I'll catch you very shortly. Okay, down in the car again. Everything's connected up to the antenna. The other radios are in a carrier bag, and the FT2D is just on my lap here. So I'm going to go and walk down to the usual spot by the phone box so we can do the audio tests at a reasonable enough distance without overloading the front end of the receiver. So all the radios should be fully charged, so it should be a bit more indicative and a bit more of a fair test. But as it's the audio I'm testing, then it should give me an idea of how each radio sounds. So I'll catch you when I get down there. Okay, same place again, down by where the phone box used to be. So start off with the radio in question for this lockdown review, which is the Yaesu FT2D. So, I've checked the frequencies in use already, there's no one in it. So, let's give it a go. So, 145425, just so I remember this time. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, testing the Yaesu FT2D on 145.425. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform. Okay, so that's that. There was a car coming. It's annoying. Put the radio right in front of the camera there, and don't film the car coming and they don't get a bit annoyed about it. You just never know. Yeah, so let's do another one. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, testing the Yaesu FT2D on 145.425. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform. That's on the high power setting, about 5 watts. So, to be fair, I've been running all the radios on full power. So, let's switch to another radio. Okay, next one up's Retovis RT87. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, testing Retovis RT87 against Yaesu FT2D on 145.425. And again. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, testing Retovis RT87 against Yaesu FT2D on 145.425. Okay, next radio. And that next radio would be the Pofung GT5 that we did in the last one. So, again. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, testing the Pofung GT5 against the Yaesu FT2D on 145.425. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, testing the Pofung GT5 against the Yaesu FT2D on 145.425. And I got an RF burn for the battery contacts. Near enough. Well, I got something off the battery contacts, that was a bit nasty. It definitely might have been an RF burn. That was transmitting when that happened. But otherwise, yeah, it doesn't happen if you're not transmitting. So, I did mention that in the description of the video I did for this. Right. Okay, next radio. That'll be the last radio as well. And, here we go. And that last radio will be the Uxon KGUVD 1P, which is currently in memory mode, but the rest of them I put into frequency mode, so I'll just put this back. So before I begin, channel mode frequency. There we are. 145.425. And that one's on low power, so let's turn the power up. Can do that quickly, can't I? There we go. So they're all now on fair power, to give them all a fair chance. So, we'll go with this radio now. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, testing the Wuxon KGUVD 1P against the Yaesu FT2D on 145.425. And once more. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, testing the Wuxon KGUVD 1P against the Yaesu FT2D on 145.425. And that's me done. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform clear. Okay, I'll go back up and see how that's all come out. And see how our 3 Chinese radios fared against this. Oh, it stuck to my belt. Right, I'll see you soon. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, testing the Yaesu FT2D on 145.425. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, testing the Yaesu FT2D on 145.425. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, testing Retovis RT87 against Yaesu FT2D on 145.425. Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform.
Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, testing retrofit RT87 against Yaesu FT2D on 145425. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, testing the flow from GT5 against the Yaesu FT2D on 145425. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, testing the Pofung GT5 against the Yaesu FT2D on 145425. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, testing the Wuxum KGUVD1P against the Yaesu FT2D on 145425. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, testing the Wuxum KGUVD1P against the Yaesu FT2D on 145425.
Right then, so I'm back from the daily exercise, we shall call it, with the radios, and the FT2D definitely has nice punchy audio on FM, to be expected, and it was definitely much louder compared to its Chinese competition, we shall say. So it's definitely a good radio. I think the quoted power on it's 5 watts at high power, and I believe there's 2 low power settings as well. I can double check that now actually. I can give you the information from the horse's mouth, which will say, right. So yeah, it's on high power at the moment. All the radios are on high power for the test. So see if I find the transmit power. That might be in the other menu actually. Here we are, transmit power. So there's 3 low settings and 1 high setting. So the high power setting is about 5 watts. Then I think it might be a watt, and somewhere in the region of about 100 milliwatts or something. So, but I'll double check that with the user's manual and put it in the description below. So it's a good radio, it's well worth the money, and I definitely recommend you should buy it. There's lots of stuff on it, which if I went into, it would make this video probably about 5 hours long. So, but it's a good radio and definitely good for the money. It's made by a reputable brand, a brand you can trust, and it's reasonably durable as well. But I wouldn't advise dropping it or dunking it in water or anything. There's anyone who would want to do that to a £300 radio is really a bit silly, or they have too much money to spend. But I certainly wouldn't, and I like that radio, and I want to make sure it still works. So it's a thumbs up from me, definitely, for that radio. So that's not the end of the lockdown reviews. I still have some other things to review on them. I do actually have another handheld radio for the amateur radio bands to do. I've got my Anytone DMR radio to do at some point. Although I've covered the handheld CB on range tests, I've not covered them in a review fashion, we shall say. So they'll probably be done at some point as well. So, because this lockdown's going to go on for a bit longer yet, unfortunately. But it's what we need to do to avoid the virus. So, with that in mind, you guys stay safe, enjoy your radio. You can still use your radio. There's nothing saying you can't do that, but you just can't go on top of the hills and operate portable at the moment, which is a bit of a shame really. Yeah, so stay safe, watch out for the virus, enjoy your radio, and look after yourselves and your loved ones, and protect the NHS or your relevant health department, depending on what country you're in, and make sure they don't get overwhelmed because people are getting this virus, and follow the social distancing rules. And the sooner out of this lockdown, the better it will be. So for the time being, this is Paul Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 metres in PMR 446. Just again saying stay safe. Oh, just before I go, on my last video, someone commented that I didn't reply to them in a comment on a previous video, and they subsequently unsubscribed. I did actually reply to them when I saw this, and then answer the question that they posted on the other videos best I could, but they didn't subscribe again. So, but I have a sneaky suspicion that they may have commented on something on one of Lewis M3HHY's videos as well, and unsubscribed. So I believe they just have a bad thing about unsubscribing in a dramatic fashion. But having said that, I've not been getting notifications of comments anyway, so if you do comment, I might not see it straight away, but I should have sorted that out by now. So if you do comment on any of my videos, I should now get the comments. That's the hopeful part. But I think this individual that I'm referring to has had commented on a Ringway Manchester video, stressing how unhappy they were about Lewis putting up a video that had some rather colourful language in it. But Lewis did warn people that there would be language in it. So Lewis didn't really do anything wrong. So I think this person's just probably just looking to create drama, which I'll say. I'll say no more on that. So if you do comment, I'll try and get back to them if I can and if I see them, but I might not see them because I've not been getting the notifications. So don't worry, I do pay attention to you guys, and obviously I do want you to stay safe, of course, as well. So, and I do want to try and keep you guys part of the channel. The more subscribers, the better, I think, and makes me more inclined to do more videos. Even though if I do lose the odd subscriber, I'll still keep making the videos because, you know, losing the odd subscriber isn't going to make much of a difference to my motivation to make them, because I actually enjoy making these videos, because I enjoy putting things out onto YouTube, and it's just something I like to do as part of my amateur radio hobby and any other interest I have. So again, 7-3, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Don't forget, you can subscribe to this channel and ring the bell to be notified of new videos as I upload them. 73 is from Paul Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 on 11 metres and PMR 446.